everybody. Welcome back to Seed to Table. It's been a while since we've been able to gather in person, but it's nice to be able to be with you virtually. So this is our final culinary class, and we're going to have to do it a little differently, but we're going to do some cooking for you. We're going to record some recipes. You're going to get to see what's coming in your toolbox, and we're going to talk about things that might be happening in the future. So get your toolbox ready, get your ingredients ready, get your parents there to help you, and we're going from there. So again, this is your toolbox. You get this nice little, it's actually a toolbox, but it's going to be your culinary, your kitchen tools. So a couple of things you're going to get. You're going to get a flexible cutting mat. Doesn't fit in the box, but you get that along with your tools. We're going to show you what you get. Now I want you all to remember, these are kitchen tools, not toys. They're sharp and they could hurt you. So we're going to get some real knives. We'll show you those in a second. You're going to get a spoon, a pair of tongs, a wire whisk, a vegetable peeler, another sharp knife, a liquid measurer, a stainless steel spoon, a meat thermometer, a silicone spatula, a basting brush or a pastry brush, a wood spoon, and two kid-friendly knives. So as you can see, these kid-friendly knives are plastic. They still can cut fruits and vegetables, which is nice. We have a chef's knife and a little paring knife. So this is what we're going to practice with first when we do that. The one other thing that I don't have yours yet, but you're going to be getting a set of teaspoons. We're going to use these a lot. So you can see all of these tools that will be in your box. Briefly, what we would use things for, we would use a whisk to stir things, to whip up egg whites, to make salad dressings possibly. We would use our tongs to cook with or to toss a salad. Our peeler could peel carrots or cucumbers. And these are a little different. They're kind of sideways, but they work really well. The liquid measurer would use when we're measuring olive oil or vinegar. The spatula we would use to stir things. We would use the brush. This is nice. It's silicone, so it's almost a plastic. And this will brush things on dough or on pastries and things like that. So again, these are all of your tools. Be very careful with the knives. They are sharp. Make sure you're handling them with your parents around. And this is their toolbox, so take care of it and keep it safe. Let's talk ingredients. So when you come to get your toolkit, you're going to get a brown bag full of almost everything you'll need to make your recipes. So let's show you a few of the things you'll see. An eggplant, zucchini, yellow squash, carrots and celery, some mushrooms, some bell peppers. You might see different colors, yellow, orange, green, red, apples, green beans, an onion. This is just half. You're going to get a whole onion, and all kinds of different fresh herbs. So these are ingredients. Let's get to cooking. So today one of the things we're going to make is a fresh lettuce and arugula salad with a couple of fresh fruits on top. I want to show you that I've already made one and let the dressing set on it and kind of wilted the lettuce a little bit. But we're going to show you how to make the salad. So the first thing you do in your plastic salad bowl here is you have all kinds of different salad greens. This is a spring mix of different kinds of fresh greens. We're going to add some arugula to that. Got the arugula. And we're going to toss that in a moment. So what I want to do first is I want to cut some radishes. This is your radish. So what you do is you take your paring knife and cut off the ends. We want to slice these rather thinly. So what we'll do, I've already snipped off the ends of these. We'll thin slice some of the radishes. You could probably slice about 6 or 7. Just depends on if you like radishes. It's going to add a little bit of bitter but crunchy, nice little twist to add with the citrus and the fruit that we'll have in here. So we get our radishes. I've got some already sliced. We're going to toss those on top. We're going to get the ones we had already sliced here and add those. And you can see it adds some color. The next thing we're going to add, we're going to take one of our Gala apples. We're going to take the core and the seeds out, leave the peel on, and make thin slices of the apple. So you see that I'm using a paring knife, and I'm going and just cutting pretty thin slices of the apple. This will give a little bit of sweetness too for the salad. So we're going to add that on top. I have some already cut. Add that as well. So the last thing fruit-wise we're going to add is, I've got a clementine here, or a tangerine. So you want to peel it. They're easy to peel. And then just break your little segments and put them in your salad. So here we go. Got clementines. So what we can do now, you can wear your rubber gloves and you can toss by hand, or you can take your tongs and you can toss all the ingredients. You want to be careful not to get it all over the floor. We're going to toss it again once we get the salad dressing on it, but that's going to be the next step. So you toss everything up, set this aside. Let's make the dressing. First thing you're going to need is this plastic container with this lid that seals tightly. This is going to be what we shake the dressing in. So you get to have a little movement and fun with this. We're going to add a 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar. Got that right here. Got my measuring cup. We're going to measure a 1/4 cup. We're going to dump that in. We're going to add a 1/2 cup of olive oil. Put that in the measuring cup. Dump it in. Then we're going to add some lemon juice. I've got a fresh lemon here. I've already squeezed some. You guys will get a packet of lemon juice. But what I do when I squeeze the lemon juice, I cut the lemon in half, turn it upside down so the seeds are going to get caught in my hand and not in the juice itself. Squeezing out all the juice. I'm going to rinse my hand real quick, and I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. So I've got a teaspoon here, and I'm adding the lemon juice. So now some other things that are going to go are spices. We've got a 1/4 cup, that's a lot of pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. 1/4 cup would be disgusting. So we've got a 1/4 teaspoon, and then we have a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I have a little bit of salt in this container. I'm adding the salt. Not last, we have 2 more things. So Dijon mustard. You're going to get some mustard in some packets. This is what it looks like. I already know that this is a tablespoon. So what I'm going to do is grab my spoon, take the Dijon mustard, put it in the dressing, just like that. Set that aside. And before I add the fresh herbs, what I'm going to do is make sure this lid is on tight. Your mom and dad are going to get mad if you shake this and you don't have the lid on tight. So I see that it's on tight. I'm going to shake it really good. It's emulsifying as we shake it. It's turning into a salad dressing, a nice vinaigrette. We're going to stop shaking for a minute. Take the lid off carefully. And then you'll have a baggie of fresh herbs. So what I'm going to be cutting up is some chives. We've got some parsley. We've got some rosemary, a little oregano, and some French thyme. So what I want to do is make a little space here. I'm going to get the herbs ready. I'm going to take my big knife here and I'm going to finely chop them up. Now I have some already cut, so I'll show you what they should look like, but I just wanted you to see how this is done. So I'm going to take my already chopped herbs here, and we need for this a 1/2 cup. So constantly refer to your recipe because that'll tell you what we need. So we're going to put all of our herbs in here. smells so good. We're gonna take our lid, put the lid on securely, make sure it's on tight, and do the same thing again. You can see I made some earlier and it still looks the same. I put some of it on the salad I made earlier. So when you've shaken this up about 20 seconds, you're gonna carefully remove the lid. Carefully, you can see I'm making a little mess, but if you're not making a mess, you're not cooking. So you're gonna pour about half of this over top because you can always add more, you can never take it out. So, we've got the dressing, we've got our tongs, and we're gonna lightly toss this salad. Now some people like the dressing to sit and make it a little almost soggy, but it can be served right away. You don't want to keep this overnight because it's not going to be tasty as it is right now. So serve this on a plate, have it with your dinner or before your dinner, and we're good to go. And this was our fresh salad. Today, it's going to be a garden fresh vegetable pasta dish. So some of the ingredients we're going to be using is a box of pasta. We're using penne pasta, and the noodles look like this in case you've never seen them. So we're going to cook that. That can be pre-cooked. I've already got a bowl of that cooked, so I'll show you that in a little bit. We're going to be using all kinds of vegetables. The nice thing about this recipe is you can add what you like. If you have more of something, you could add that. What we're going to be doing first is we're going to be sauteing. We're cooking the harder vegetables, the peppers, the onions, the carrots, the celery. We're going to cook those first. So back here on the stove, I've got a big saute pan or a frying pan. And what we're going to do is put our olive oil in our frying pan. So we need about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I know what I've already measured. And we're going to turn on the stove. We're going to turn on the right stove. We're going to let that heat up for a minute. So I'm going to start chopping. I have an empty bowl here. I've got a half a green pepper. This is just what I have available, so I'm going to cut it in some strips. Slowly going to make some strips. Holding the one end that I'm cutting with my 2 fingers to keep it steady. I've got some strips of green pepper. And then I have a red bell pepper. We're going to do the same thing. They don't all have to be the same size. That's what's nice about this recipe. It's kind of rustic, it's kind of uneven. You don't have to be a perfectionist with it. So we're going to add the red bell pepper. Take a look at our stove and make sure we're heating up the olive oil. We're going to do some yellow bell pepper here. You might get orange, you might get yellow, you might get green, or a combination. So whatever you're given, that's what you're going to use. Got a half of onion. You want to take the peel off first, and then we're going to start slicing the onion. I'm going to make thin slices of the onion, and then we're going to add that to the bowl. I want to get this going because I hear my oil sizzling. So I'm going to take my bowl of veggies here and dump it in the saute pan. So while this is sauteing, I'm going to move it around in the hot oil, let that get to work to start. It's already starting to smell good in here. So then I'm going to take some celery. I'm going to clean off the ends. I've already washed this. And I'm going to do a rough chop of the celery. I can do it a little quicker because I've chopped a little bit more in my lifetime, but you want to take your time. I'm going to add the celery to my empty bowl. I've got 3 carrots. We're going to chop off the ends here. I've already done it on 2. We're going to then take our vegetable peeler and we're going to peel all the peels off. These are also washed as well. Key is you want to wash all of your vegetables before you use it. Even if you're getting it from the grocery store, you always want to wash it. So we're doing this. We're peeling the carrots, getting all of the peels off. If you have a rabbit, they love the carrot peels, or if you compost. We've got our carrot going. I hear the sizzle. So when I'm done peeling this one, I'm going to make sure I stir my saute pan. This recipe is good if you have somebody helping you. I'm going to take my tongs I'm going to move the peppers and onions around in the pan. You hear a nice sizzle. You want to make sure that the heat's not too high. You don't want anything to burn. So I'm going to take my carrots here and do a rough chop of those as well. I'm cutting them in coins and round little pieces. You could cut them in, kind of like rectangles, but I like this, the way a carrot looks this way. This is going to add some nice color too. I'm going to put this in my bowl. Before I add the celery and the carrots, what I want to do here is add the garlic. So, this is a clove of garlic. You're going to get this for the recipe. You're going to chop this up very fine. I've already done it, so we're going to add that next. We're going to add the garlic, let that heat up a little bit. Combine it with your peppers and onions. They're still sauteing. When your onions start to get a little bit brown, that's when it's okay to add the celery and the carrots. The nice thing about this recipe is you keep busy because you're going to have to cut up some of the other vegetables, the squashes and the tomatoes. So we're going to add this. We're going to add the carrots and the celery. Make sure it's all in the pan here. We're going to give it a quick stir. And this is going to cook while we're chopping up the squash. Actually, no, we're going to do the tomatoes next. So I've got some Roma tomatoes. You're going to get some of these, some fresh tomatoes in your little box of ingredients, but you're also going to get a can here of diced tomatoes. So you're going to add this whole can and the juice. Use the can opener, open it, dump it in. We're going to add the tomatoes together. I'm not going to use that because I have just fresh ones. I want to cut off the ends of the tomato here. And I've got some already sliced, so I'll show you that in a second. Cut off all the ends. And then we're going to cut it into slices. The tomatoes are going to cook down and kind of make their own juice. That's why we're going to reserve and keep that juice in that can, because we want that extra juice. So cut the tomatoes in half, and then we're going to cut it into slices. So when you cut the slices, you want them to be thin like this. So these are our thin slices. So I am going to cut these up. We're going to add these all to my bowl because they're all going to go in at once. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to stir my vegetables. Make sure they're cooking. I know one thing, this is very colorful. This is a pretty dish so far. So we're going to cut tomatoes. This is a fun recipe that the whole family could do together. Everybody could have a job. And it would also help you to try new vegetables. So in the fall, you could add maybe some sweet potatoes or some Brussels sprouts or greens. In the summer, you could add some fresh corn. So we've got our tomatoes almost done here. And then what we are going to do next after the tomatoes is we're going to add some seasonings, and then we're going to add some of some other vegetables. So one more tomato down. Takes a while to cut all these tomatoes. So I've got my bowl full of tomatoes here. I'm going to come back and check, see how everything's cooking. And I'm actually going to wait a couple minutes before I add the tomatoes. So I'm going to set those aside. What I want to add next is I've got some fresh green beans from the garden, and they're actually from our garden here. These haven't been snipped yet, but in case you don't know how, I'll show you. So you can actually snip off the ends. You could use a knife if you wanted to, but it's easier this is kind of fun. This is an old time kind of entertainment. So once you snip them, you're going to cut them in half. What do they look like? They look like this. They look like this. So what I'm going to do is you're only adding 2 cups of vegetables total. So the recipe's gonna show you how to measure everything, but what I'm gonna do is, because I can eyeball it, is add the beans. I'm gonna add a couple handfuls here, let those cook. I'm gonna add my tomatoes. Oh, wow. Sizzle, sizzle. And I'm gonna stir everything again. You can hear them sizzle because the juices of the tomatoes are gonna start working down, reducing. We wanna let that continue to cook. I turned my temperature up a little bit. So now, let's look at our recipe and see what seasonings we need to add. So I've got my measuring teaspoon. I need to add a teaspoon of salt. Sprinkle that over the frying pan. I need to add a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Got my black pepper here. I'm going to add that. Actually, I'm going to add 2 1/4 teaspoons. So then we're also going to add some sugar. It calls for 2 teaspoons. What I have here is I know I've already measured, so I'm going to dump that in. You're probably asking why sugar. That's going to help cut some of the acidic of the tomatoes, the acids and the spices. So what we want to add next. Okay, so what we want to add next before we chop our last vegetables, you're going to add chicken broth. Now you could get a can of broth, you can make your own. What we're going to do is make some chicken broth out of a bouillon cube. So you're going to measure out your water, hot water. This is very hot water. I've already added some of the bouillons. And I'm going to peel the bouillon cube, and that's hard to do in rubber gloves. And we're going to add it to the water. We're going to peel another one, and this is going to give it a chicken flavor, and this is going to help give some more juice to our recipe. What I want to do is when I get this peeled, add this one. Because the hot water will melt this quicker, we're going to stir it up, let it dissolve a bit, and then we're going to pour that over our recipe. And you can hear it sizzling even more now. So I still have a few more vegetables that I want to add, but I have to let this cook down a little bit. You can see that it's simmering in the juices now. So we're also going to add yellow and zucchini squash. So what I'm going to do is cut off the ends again. This has already been washed. Cut off my zucchini, and you can use any of the squash that you have on hand. We're going to cut it into coins or rounds, about 1/4 of an inch thick. And again, it can be not all the same size. This is good practice for you to cut the zucchini in pieces here. So I've got my zucchini. I'm going to put it in this bowl temporarily until the saute pan gets to what I need. We're going to take the yellow squash and do the same thing. You want to hold the base of the squash with your hand you're not working with and cut with the other hand. And as you can see, I've got yellow squash here. You could add eggplant, you could add other things. This is what we're going to add. You could add greens. We've got Swiss chard, you could add that. We've got some mushrooms. We'll do the mushrooms last because they take not very much time. So let's go over here and stir again. Our pasta's making a nice, our pasta dish, this is going to be the topping for it, making a nice thick sauce right now. The vegetables still need to cook a little bit. So we let that cook. At this point, we would, when it's already cooked, we're going to add the squash. Let that cook. Remember to stir. And the squash is a softer vegetable, so it's going to take less time to cook. Then we've got our couple mushrooms. We can slice those up. They'll be the last vegetable besides herbs that I add. And I do have a few sliced, and I'll add those as well. So mushrooms are soft. They're easy to add. I've got a few here that I'm going to add in too. We'll add that to the dish. And then you're going to take some fresh parsley and some basil, and we're going to cut that up. I have have some already cut here, so it should look like this. This has already been washed and trimmed, but I want to cut up the fresh herbs, and this is going to give it a nice flavor. And what we're going to do when it's done cooking is put the little bit of herbs on top, and then some Parmesan cheese after we mix it with our pasta. So as you can see, we're still cooking away over here. We've got our nice vegetables sauteed. We're letting them work. And then we're gonna let them cook for a second here. I forgot to add my sugar snap peas, but I'm gonna add those now. These are actually frozen peas, so they're already cooked. So I've got a variety of vegetables. You don't have to put this many. And again, you could do it. You could add broccoli. You could add cauliflower. This is cooking away. So what we would do now is we would add the fresh herbs that we chopped. We'd add that to the top. We'd take some Parmesan cheese and roughly about 1/4 cup. We'd sprinkle that over top. And then we would toss that again. I've cooked some penne pasta here. So in a big bowl, we would put the pasta down and then pour our vegetables and sauce over it and lightly toss it. So what this looks like when we're done here, like this. This was made this morning. Everything cooks down and it makes a beautiful pasta dish. Now, if you don't like pasta or you have to have gluten-free, substitute gluten-free. You can't eat pasta at all. I can't eat pasta at all, so I would either use a zucchini noodle or some cauliflower rice. So I actually made this dish with cauliflower rice. Same vegetables, just put it over the cauliflower rice. So this is our recipe. This is a nice family dinner. Have this with your salad and let us know if you like it or not. Thanks for cooking. Well guys, we finished cooking together. We've made our pasta, we've made our salad. We've looked in our toolbox, we've talked about ingredients. So, thanks for joining me today. I look forward to cooking with you again soon. And thanks for being a part of this program.